America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. To serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage? Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Following program are pre-recorded. Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bach, along with Tom Briggle, owner of the Bismarck Bobcats. And Tom, coming off one hell of a weekend with Aberdeen, putting up 15 goals on the weekend, holding them to 2, including a shutout. That was a pretty good statement weekend for the Bobcats.
Yeah, it was. It was, like we're saying, it's almost uncanny how that worked. I don't recall ever outscoring Aberdeen or any team, really, 15-2 in a weekend. But, the boys played, 60 minutes on both nights. And I think that, they're really coming together. As we've been discussing, we made a few adds starting in January, and so I think Lane's doing a good job finding out the line combinations, and I think the boys just in the locker room, they're all in, and I think it's reflected in the score. So it's quite a weekend for the fans. They saw just a lot of good stuff. It was fun.
Okay, so the point, and Lane's done a good job with this, and I talked to him off schedule a couple times about building to the playoffs. We're not there yet. Big weekend coming up with Minot this weekend. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But what's the takeaway? Because coming off of a 15-2 weekend, including a shutout, somewhere in the back of your mind's got to be, it's like, okay, don't peak too soon. We got a lot of hockey left. So, I mean, trying to keep the boys in the right mindset, that's a lot of the coaching at this point.
Yeah, it is. And, it's become a cliche, this whole concept of not too high, not too low, and all of that, right? But I think it's really true. And so we know we've secured our playoff spot. We have an outside opportunity. Like if we were to sweep Minot 4 in a row, I mean, could happen. We're playing pretty good, but they're really good too. And so we're certainly playing towards that end. Give everything we got to finish in first and procure home ice throughout the playoffs. That would be nice. But I think more so it's a couple things. It's stay healthy. Because health makes a big difference, of course. And the other thing is just kind of trying to come to a crescendo, at the right time. And I think that, Lane certainly gets it. It's not his first time to the rodeo. And so I think the boys, they're building towards that. And then we have playoffs, and it's just going to be really interesting. I'm not particularly crazy about playing Minot these last 4 games. Just kind of because, it could go either way, and I kind of virtually think, let's say one team loses 4 or loses 3, and the other team wins or loses 4 or loses 3. it kind of, shapes the playoffs a little bit. And so I think that in terms of mindset, so I think we want to put a little fear of God into them, and I think they want to prove that they're better than us. So the 2 weekends are going to be great, without a doubt. It'll be exciting, but probably would prefer not to be playing them at this time.
Well,
But it is what it is. And
great opportunity.
The other side of the coin is the other three teams in the league are in a dogfight like we've been, and so they're all within 2 points, I think. So we don't really know who we're playing. I would guess it's going to be Aberdeen, but it's hard to know.
Well, great opportunity to set the tone, and you got to remember too, with Minot and Bismarck always having that rivalry, and those are physical games anyway, but with what's at stake in the playoffs and a league championship, I'm guessing that's going to be ratcheted up a little bit. And then coming back to the health side of stuff, you never play scared because that's when you do get injured. But these are going to be some physical games heading down the stretch, and that's got to play into it as well.
Yeah, they are. They are for sure. And Minot plays, a different game than we do. They're a little bit more like Aberdeen. They're more physical. But what I will say is that we've become more physical too in the last 4 or 5 games. Our boys have come to understand, playoff hockey is a little different. So let's get about it. So we've been we've laid some licks. Had a couple fights, and we're doing, I think, all the right things to get ready for playoff hockey, for sure.
Well, and my favorite little agitator, Julian Beaumont, he's been holding up his end of being physical out in the ice as well, and I love that part of his game.
He always has his nose in there. He's just that kind of player, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the goaltending, because the goaltending this year has been pretty darn good. And with another shutout on Saturday night with that 8-0 victory over Aberdeen, that was, the 10th shutout on the season?
Yeah, yep. And that's a record, that's a record for the Bobcats, and probably one that would stand for a while. I mean, think about it. We've only played 56 games. So to have 10 shutouts, it's pretty monumental, really.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I know the goalies get the credit, and they should. I mean, that's kind of, who else are you going to say has the shutout? But, our team defense has come a long ways from December. And we're talking defensemen, we're talking forwards, playing 200 feet. The team defense has just really come along nicely. And but Stephen Peck and Cole, Napper, they've been playing great. So just lights out. And Knapp, of course, if the fans have been reading the stories in the paper, I mean, what a story coming back from a broken leg, right?
Yeah, great story. And a player that's really got a good shot at getting on to that next level, too. You talk about the defense and the team defense that goes along with that, because one of the things with hockey is you run into the hot goalie any given night or any given series, and that goalie can dictate. But when you're talking about consistency, and it does play in that you got the defensemen that are willing to take the shot, block the shot, give up their body for the sake of the team and helping out that goalie. That's a great locker room. That is a great locker room.
Without a doubt. I mean, guys like Chase Beacon kind of lead that charge. I think he's blocked more shots than he's taken over the years, and he's like an assistant goalie out there. And the goalies, they really appreciate that, because it just gives them a better chance to win. And our team defense has been really good. Our defense has been playing more physical. Young Bear just leveled a couple of kids last week, and once you kind of do that, the forwards on the other team, a little less anxious about coming into your zone, right?
Yeah, and you don't want to mix it up in the corners. That's you get those teams sitting back on their heels a little bit, and that's a great benefit. Okay, so coming up this weekend, a lot going on. Of course, the Bobcats do a better job than anybody else in the league, making sure that it's a party for the fans, and that's why you get the fan support. A lot going on again this weekend. So,
Friday night's our sponsor and season ticket holder appreciation night. So they come a little bit early and get a beer, and Holly does such a good job in concessions. We never talked about it, but our food it's just amazing. And so they'll have a pulled pork sandwich and a beer for us to say thank you to them. And God, Saturday night we have a group of 315 coming from Doosan Bobcat and Bismarck and Mandan, and so we're going to be flipping a lot of burgers, and it's going to be fun. And I just think, again, what Valde's put together and our show that we've collaborated to put together, we'll make some more changes and additions next year, but I honestly think it's the best show in junior hockey, and I know that sounds kind of goofy, but I really believe that. And so the fans make it that way because they're crazy, and they're loud, and it's wonderful. The whole thing is just really coming together nicely.
Well, it's going to be a big weekend. The Bismarck Bobcats hosting the Minot Minotauros, and then next weekend is a home and home. We'll talk about that as well. But we're almost getting into nice enough weather you can get to the game early over to the VFW Arena, maybe do a little tailgating and really support the Bobcats. So, Tom, always a pleasure, my friend. Tom Briggle, owner of the Bismarck Bobcats. Give him hell this weekend. Oh, hey, one other thing too. Congratulations. It's not senior banquet, but last night you had your team banquet for the season. How did that go?
Went marvelous. They put together some plaques for the boys and some traveling plaques. I got to be honest, we kind of got away from that after COVID, the infamous COVID. So it took a while to get back into it. So we're back into it now, and the boys had a great time. Food was great. Tavern provided us some food and a main bar, some drinks, and life was good. So it was a good time, and I think everyone had just a super time. Well,
congratulations to the boys celebrating the team. Bismarck Bobcats this weekend, BismarckBobcats.com. If you haven't done so, download the app. Tickets will go fast. Tonight's game, as they're hosting Minot and the playoff run down to the home stretch. And this is a big weekend, 2 weekends actually, with Minot. So get out and support your Bismarck Bobcats. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bonkin. Joining us in the studio, Deidre Hillman with 13 Hat. You guys do a lot of work. You put on a lot of stuff.
That's why we call it the 13th hat, because we wear all the hats.
All the hats. Yeah, I mean, you
all
got
the event hats.
Event hats. You got a different hat for all kinds of stuff. I mean, one of the things that you're wearing a hat for, Whiskey Fest 2024. This is one of my favorite events.
It's usually not hard to find volunteers to come work this event.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah. This is a popular one.
Okay, so Whiskey Fest, it's kind of becoming a little tradition here in Bismarck for those who are connoisseurs.
I think what is really nice about it is if you're not even sure if you want to dabble in the connoisseur life, you can come check out the variety.
Okay, so I have to ask you, what's the difference between whiskey, bourbon, and scotch?
We just talked about this, Steve.
Okay, if you don't know, now I know your husband knows.
Yes.
But if you don't know,
that's
great
the
opportunity to learn. I mean, the cool thing about Whiskey Fest is it's a learning experience. You get to dabble in a lot
Correct.
of different things. You get to try a bunch of different things.
Different price points.
Different price points. It's kind of like wine. It's like there's good $6 bottles of
Correct.
wine and there's not good $6 bottles of wine. There's good $18 bottles of bourbon and there's not good 18 bottles or whiskey or scotch. There's price points for everybody. So you just have to know how to navigate. And that's one of the things that the Whiskey Tour does is helps people navigate where their tastes lie.
And we have, back to your point of what you can learn from it, it's not just a come try. We'll have over 80 products there. Nobody's going to try all 80 products. That's not
come on.
possible.
Give me a little credit.
No, you can try it.
I can give it a shot.
Yeah, you don't earn a T-shirt or anything if you conquer that. Maybe an escort out, and you only have 2 hours. But
I can do it.
The suppliers from all over the country fly in for this. And so not only do you have the team from Republic National, RNDC, there that can answer those questions for you, but the suppliers are there too that will tell you the history of the product and, how it's all processed and made and where it came from. And
the other part of that too is we've gotten into such a craft area, and there's craft whiskeys, a lot of different things that, sourced locally. That's the cool part. It's like, hey, I got a couple friends that started a couple distilleries down in Minneapolis and one in Rapid City, and I got a friend down in Texas that just went and started his own distillery down there. So there's a lot of different variety when you're looking at different product out there that you maybe don't know what you don't know until somebody exposes you to it. Yeah.
And it is a sampling. You go table to table. There'll be, I think, 21 tables, up to 6 products at each table. So there is a lot going on in a short period of time. But I want to talk a little bit about the contest, the mixologist contest that's going on.
Yeah. Well, before we get into that, though, one other thing I mentioned, because I was kind of teasing a little bit the difference between whiskey and bourbon and scotch. But then how many different kinds of whiskey, how many different kinds of bourbon, how many different kinds of scotch. So there's a lot of different layers to go through. So many layers. Great opportunity. So again, and I'll try to hit all 80, but again, this is an event that a lot of regulars, because you can't learn it all in one night or one event.
No, and you don't know when you go to the liquor store or wherever you're buying your product at, you don't know, should you grab the $50 bottle? So this gives you the chance to try all the different varieties, and then you can mark them down, take them into your local liquor store, and purchase a bottle if you like that kind.
I kind of got into, back in the day in college, I got into moonshine.
I thought you were going to talk about jungle juice.
No. I got into moonshine, which is whiskey, and I learned, because I was managing a bar in Grand Forks, and a lot of my server staff, the bar backs and bartenders and bouncers, were guys from the Air Base, Grand Forks Air Force Base. A lot of firefighters, by the way.
Okay.
And I kind of had one standing rule. If you go home on leave and you come from Tennessee or Alabama it's like, bring a little something back, back when you could do that on a plane. And I learned that places with good agriculture had really good moonshine. And the whiskeys and the scotches and the bourbons, they're a little like that as well. It's like, what goes in comes out, so good stuff in goes out. And a lot of people don't know that, because it's the nuances of the flavors and the aromas, and there's so much.
And the glass that it's in.
The glass that it's in.
Ice or no ice.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into it, and this is a great opportunity to learn.
Correct.
So now the mixology side of this.
So I get this question a lot. I don't like, somebody will say, I don't know, my husband or my friend wants to go, but I don't drink whiskey, scotch, There's a mixologist contest going on, and so we have local mixologists that compete. And so at every table, as long as we have 21 mixologists competing, they will create a craft cocktail with one of the products, and you can sample that. And so I do encourage people, even if you're not going to sit around and sample Just that 1 ounce pour of
So
a
if your
product.
goal's not to knock out all 80 like it is mine,
Maybe
then
it's
maybe
20
it's
or
the
21.
That might be the
and
goal,
vote
right?
and vote for your favorite, and we'll crown that mixologist the best of the year.
So from the mixology contest, who should be looking at entering this contest? If you're a bartender, server, you got those chops?
Yes, you should be experienced in the craft, of course. And what happens is RNDC will supply them with a product, of course, to make their craft cocktail so they can play with that recipe in advance. And then I do the shopping logistics. So if they need a garnish with it or a splash of cream or whatever their drink needs, and then they mix it live that night. And so you go table to table to try mixed drinks as well.
I'm really good at Scotch neat.
I bet you are. I could handle that one too.
One heck of a Scotch neat.
But what kind of glass does it go in? That's where I get a little right.
That's the key. I've learned the glasses. I got a really nice set of the square rock glasses for one, but even within the different genres of the whiskey, the Scotch, the bourbon, depending on what you're drinking, the glass matters.
It does.
Just within the category.
It does.
So, and then if you're mixing something, a lot goes into that, and people maybe not thinking about some of that, but a great opportunity to learn.
And I cannot not mention that this is a fundraiser as well for our friends at Dakota Zoo. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, yeah.
So last year, Dakota Zoo set up a booth, and it was awesome. People could purchase stuffed animals from the gift shop. And so by the end of the night, there were,
All right, so with 13th Hat, you organized all this. Can you get them to bring the baby camel?
I just saw this, this morning on the drive here. I serve on the zoo board. I'm pretty sure that might go against the policy, but I could ask on the meeting next week. For me, you bet. I'll request it.
I would love that. If they
I'm
could bring
sure
the baby
the Heritage
camel,
Center would love that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although the baby camel will probably go walk by the dinosaur bones and go, wait a minute.
He is adorable.
He's cute.
But at the end of the night, there were people walking around with, stuffed snakes on their shoulders, and everybody was having a great time. And so I love that we tie in community impact to this event as well. I mean, they, benefit a couple $1,000s last year at the end of it, because 100% of the ticket proceeds after the cost of the event goes back to that charity.
Helping out the zoo, great way to do that too. And if you haven't checked out the baby camel yet, I can't guarantee the baby camel is going to be at the event, but you should probably go look at the baby camel, because again, driving on an expressway and looking over and go, oh my gosh, it's so cute.
Yeah, it's that time of year. We have actually a lot of babies being born out at the zoo right now.
Yeah, so looking forward to getting out to the zoo this spring as well. Great event coming up, Whiskey Fest, Bismarck Whiskey Fest 2024. Registration, buying tickets in advance?
Yes, so prices do increase, I think around April 3rd or April 4th. You'll have to look that up on our Facebook page. And the tickets are sold through Eventbrite, so do not buy them off the street. If somebody posts that they're trying to sell them, don't do that.
Hey, you don't want to buy a ticket.
Yes, don't do it. And we do limit it. We are almost sold out in Bismarck already.
Nice.
It is fantastic again, because
it's a great event. I've been there in the past, and it is phenomenal. Yeah. And I'm going to try to make all 80 this year.
So I think after fees, if you purchase your ticket early, it's like around $45. I don't know, Steve. I'm going to have to make sure my camera's ready at the end of the night.
80? That's my goal.
It's only 2 hours.
101.
How much damage can you do?
101. I got to hit all the mixologies, right?
Well, that's
so it's
included. That's included. Yeah, I mean, because you can try their product. Yeah,
we got to try them neat, just to get the.
Don't be giving them all kinds of ideas here.
Okay. It's good to have goals.
It is good. It is good. You should probably take Thursday off. It is a Wednesday night. That's also intentionally.
Bismarck Whiskey Fest 2024. Where do you sign up, or where do you get
Eventbrite, or through our Facebook page, Bismarck Whiskey Fest 2024.
It's going to be a great event, and I guarantee it'll sell out. So you probably want to get on that sooner than later.
Yeah, and I should say we feed you too. There's food.
Oh yeah, there's food there.
So for $40, you get to try all these good things we've just talked about. But we also, Thomas and Moriarty's is
but then
our
I might
caterer
get
this
full,
year.
And then
you should snack. You got to
with
absorb.
101. Well, yeah.
There's timeout periods. Yep.
It's going to be a good night. Let's just
grab
go down.
grab a meatball in between.
Bismarck Whiskey Fest 2024 coming up on April 10th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Bismarck Heritage Center. Get your tickets online or at eventbrite.com. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. To serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
Hello, Anderson.
And Steve Bakken.
On Super Talk 1270, Saturday afternoons, 1 till 4 on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, and great event coming up. Bismarck's Race for Parkinson's. That is right around the corner on Saturday, April 27th at Sertoma Park. And we've got one of the board members in, one of the organizers in with us to talk about it. Donna Fricke, you're one of the board members. Give us a little background, because this is, the 14th year for this now?
Right, yeah. So we didn't even miss a race during all the things that were going on.
The silly stuff, yeah.
Yeah, the silly stuff.
A couple years ago, yeah.
So we started 14 years ago, and we're still going 14 years later. So it's pretty cool. 2024 and 14th year.
Well, tell us a little bit about, so Parkinson's, not, maybe somebody's not familiar with the disease, and it is truly a tragic disease. So, raising funds, trying to find a cure, better treatments. That's what this is all about.
Right. And the big thing we do is supporting people that have been diagnosed with Parkinson's or may think they have or whatever. And it's amazing the people that come to our different meetings. So we meet the second Thursday of every month at at the Benedictine Living Center. And it's really hard to... Parkinson's affects people in different ways. So it affects your nervous system.
Yeah, it's a nervous system disease, but it manifests itself with the symptoms in a lot of different ways.
Right.
So that means when you're trying to manage treatment, because again, like a lot of neurological or a lot of diseases, diagnosing it early is very important because you can manage things a little bit better. But with Parkinson's, you don't know what those symptoms are because it could be anything. It could attack so many different parts of your body. So it's one of those diseases that's a little hard to diagnose as well.
Right. So sometimes it could be the gait. It could be the way your facial expressions are. It could be a slight tremor or shake or something, which if you see a lot of people do that. They shake their legs or their arms or hands or whatever. Even young kids do that. So, you don't know for sure how it's affecting different people. And, my husband was diagnosed with it in 2018 and right after he retired. And so it was really hard to know, wow, I didn't realize that he was probably dealing with this. But as I look back, I go, there probably were
warning signs that just you didn't know, and getting that diagnosis, if those warning signs would have manifested into a diagnosis earlier, better course of action, right?
Right. So little things like, okay, smile when you're taking pictures. And he's like, I am smiling and thinking, oh, it could have been part of that, symptom, that he was having. So exercise, diet, looking at what you're eating and drinking and things like that is so important.
So what are some of the signs that people should look for? Because, we talk in this program, I talk with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Health and Dakota Natural Health Center and Dakota Pharmacy, and we talk about the triad of care, and you're your best advocate for a lot of things, and you need to be. what are some of the things people should look for? Because I say this all the time. It's like WebMD was probably the best and the worst thing for healthcare ever, because everybody kind of turned a little bit into a hypochondriac because, I got this because I read it online. But what are the things you look for that you should bring up to your healthcare provider? It's like, hey, I've got this going on, this going on, this going on, this going on. What are some of those symptoms that people should look for? Because I don't know. It's a North Dakota thing. It's like, I'm fine. Just rub some dirt in it. We'll be fine. You don't go to the doctor for every little thing, but there's some little things you should watch for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not a doctor, so I can't totally tell you all, different things, but like gait, that would be one thing. You're shuffling and you're not picking up your feet. That could be a symptom of some things. And then the swinging of your arms. Sometimes they're like in a steady, they're just not moving like they should when you normally walk. The face, I mentioned that already. And the interesting thing is I have an uncle that studied Parkinson's throughout the world. So he's been doing this, and we've been talking about it for 50 plus years, never really thinking that it could affect somebody in our family. People that have worked in farming, agricultural kind of areas, sometimes if you're exposed to different chemicals, it can affect your brain, but that's with anything, right? And North Dakota does have a high percentage of Parkinson's patients. So
a lot of the things you should be looking for, you don't necessarily notice right away because there's a little creep. It's incremental and it's slow over time. So, in a lot of cases, a significant other, family members need to speak up because they're the ones that are probably going to notice something before the individual with Parkinson's or potentially Parkinson's would notice it themselves.
Right. And there's some natural things you can do. Like I said, exercise and drinking more water, not soda, not coffee, but increasing your water
we're both
intake.
In trouble this morning because
that's not coffee.
Oh, okay. Well, mine might be Diet Coke. So
yeah. Little bit is okay. They always say, but not, like 3 pots of coffee. I'm just going to throw my little thing in, like Mountain Dew and some of these sodas, that people drink when they're like, are on a 10-hour shift or 12-hour shift or whatever. I think it does affect their body and what they
if you're over caffeinating to try to stay awake or get that extra kick, it's like, well, that's affecting your nervous system. That's how it works. So, and I've read a lot of different studies that it could or could not affect, but, why take the chance?
Right. So I have a grandpa that said, too much of anything isn't good for you.
Right.
So a little bit of, exercise is good for you. A little bit of caffeine might be okay.
Things in moderation.
In moderation or whatever. I'm an advocate for drinking lots of water. You look at your body weight and you try to drink half that your water at least. I think that really helps. Our whole body is made of 98%.
Oh, good Lord, I'll drown.
You won't though. It's amazing. Yeah, you measure it out and you're going, oh, okay. And you can do it. So, but exercise is really, really important and having happy things to do. Like tonight we're having some friends come over to play cards. That makes you happy and laugh and all that.
And it makes your brain work.
It is.
Anything that makes your brain work, especially with neurological disorders, that's vitally important. So
dancing is another thing. I was just reading about it last night, actually, in Reader's Digest. And they had a whole thing about dancing and how it affects people that have Parkinson's and other neurological diseases and things like that. So listening to music and those kinds of things are very, very important.
Well, thanks for bringing some light to this and being on the board and putting this on. And every year, 14 years now, going to really fight a dreadful disease. It really, and it's slowly debilitating. I think that's part of the worst part about it. Deidre Hillman with us as well, and you're kind of the bigger picture organizer of this great event, all kinds of cool stuff going on. Tell us what people that would come to the walk get to experience.
Yeah, I really become an extension of the board temporarily, getting to plan this event with them. This will be my third year helping them plan it. And we're aiming for record numbers. We would love to see over 500 participants. And although it's called the Race for Parkinson's, it is really a big fundraiser for them that goes throughout the entire year. You know, they spread that money out and put it to use throughout that whole year. And it's not just a race. Yes, there are runners that come and we time those runs, a 5K and a 10K. But it is incredibly family friendly and all age adaptable for walkers as well.
Let's come back after the break and talk a little bit more about the event itself, because there's so many different pieces to this, and it is for everybody. We're talking with Deidre Hillman and Donna Fricke. Race for Parkinson coming up on April 27th, Saturday at Sertoma Park. More details on the way on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bogdan along with Donna Fricke with the Race for Parkinson's. She's a board member fighting Parkinson's disease. Also, Deidre Hillman here. We're going to get into the event coming up in just a few seconds. But as far as support, Donna, there's, you know, when somebody gets diagnosed with something and whether they have family or not that's part of it, you know, first thing that goes through your mind is like, okay, now what?
Right.
And that means, where do I find the support? And there's support out there for Parkinson's.
Right. So we're living with Parkinson's. And how do we do that? And so we have group meetings on the second Thursday of every month. If you go on Facebook, you can find the Bismarck support group on the Facebook there. And then we have special events. This run is one of them. We have a really fun picnic in August, and we do it the second Thursday of August. In September, we have our Parkinson's seminar, and that has been amazing. We've had 250 plus people that come to that.
Wow.
Yeah, so actually last year we had Jimmy Choi that was on the Ninja Warrior things, and he was phenomenal, and he stayed around and talked to people, and it was so amazing. And then we have a Christmas party, which is another fun thing for everybody to just kind of hang out and get to know each other and have fun together.
So bottom line, when you are looking at Parkinson's, there is help out there. There's support, right?
Yeah. So we can't control that we have Parkinson's, but we can control how we live with it.
Yeah, and it is, to a certain degree, a manageable disease at this point. But again, like so many other diseases, we're looking for the cure.
Right.
So that's where events like the Race for Parkinson's comes in. Deidre, this is one of those, it's for the entire family events, right?
Absolutely, 100% family-friendly event on a nice, beautiful Saturday morning. Donna does a great job predicting the weather about 6 months in advance.
Even this year or last year or, yeah, okay.
Yeah, actually last year turned out pretty nice.
Yeah, last year was nice.
Yeah, it
was like the only nice weekend all winter. But
we say dress in all layers because as the morning goes on, it does warm up. But yeah, it's absolutely family friendly. We actually have a kids fun dash. And so all the littles do like 100-yard sprint, and that's always fun to watch. That's in between the kickoff of, we get the runners kind of going, the competitive runners out of the gate, if you will. While they're running, we do then the kids fun dash. And then the walkers will get started on their either 5K walk or 1 mile walk. And then there's a virtual option as well. Because this is a fundraiser and an opportunity to share a story of impact, we absolutely encourage people from around the country also to register a region, and they can participate virtually.
the virtual side is really, with COVID and it kind of got legs and people went, this is kind of fun. I can participate and I don't even have to be there.
And we do. I didn't look at the numbers this morning, but I think you guys have about 30 or so people every year that participate virtually, and that number continues to grow every year as well that I've been involved.
And we have family members that they can't be here for that day, but they're going to do it another time with us, and it's cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Okay, so walk us through the day, walk us through registration, and of course, and I want to give you a few minutes to talk about some of your sponsors because that's the big part. We've got so many great community sponsors that pitch in for a lot of great events, and this is another one of them.
Yeah, the sponsorships this year have been tremendous in their support, and I think encouraging some of the messaging when we approach those sponsors of how the dollars are used. It's not just to offset the costs of the event itself, but it's bringing in speakers for their annual seminar or, going towards their picnic and community around Parkinson's in our local area has made a difference. So those sponsors came on this year. They were over $10,000 in sponsorships alone. And so that's phenomenal. That will go a very long way. But
you ever think how blessed we are to live in a community that gives and gives and gives and we are so lucky.
Very grateful. Very grateful.
Okay, so walk us through the day.
The morning of
registration.
So you can register online right now, and I absolutely encourage you to do that because we've got some very cool T-shirts that you get, and it's guaranteed to get a T-shirt if you register before April 9th. If there are T-shirts remaining after April 9th, it'll be first come, first serve. So register online. We use a tool called raceentry.com. So you just go to raceentry.com, type in the zip code 58504. It's the only or one of the first races that pops up. Or as Donna mentioned, through our Facebook page. Everything's on the social handles somewhere, so you can just search Race for Parkinson's and you'll find it. So you get registered for your activity. If you're not sure if you're able to make it, then just show up on Saturday morning. And we have a walk-in registration table if you're a last-minute decision maker. But for those that have pre-registered, you pop in, grab your T-shirt and your race number. If you're doing a competitive run, we have goodies there, coffee that morning. Bears Cat is a great sponsor, and actually we get some Bears Cats donuts that are specially made for Parkinson's.
And water, by the way.
There will be water. There's water. And then the activities are staggered. So again, if you are a runner, you want to be there bright and early because that's the first thing that kicks off is the run, then the kids' fun dash, and then the walks begin. So the 5K or the 1 mile family walk.
Saturday, April 27th at Sertoma Park. So where is the registration and bib pickup?
It's in the shelter right next to the amusement park. It's the best place. So if you see
miss it. Love it there.
If you see all the little mini roller coaster, you're in the right spot.
Competitive 5K and 10K run. So the registration bib pickup starts at 8 a.m. So get there early. 9 a.m. for the competitive 5K and 10K run. Kids Fun Dash at 9:15. Also a 5K walk at 9:30, which I'll probably be doing that one. Wendy will probably do the 5K. And then the family fun 1 mile walk and pet friendly.
Pet friendly. We make sure if you do bring your dogs, they are leashed, and I would say a short leash. We don't want anybody with Parkinson's to be have to work around that. So we caution a little bit about that. Your animals. But yes, we do have fur babies that show up too.
And then there is a discount for early registration.
The only thing is the day of. So if you're walking the morning of, it's $5 more.
So early registration $30, day of $35, Kids Fun Dash just $15.
Correct.
So again, great family event, great way to help out and try to stop a really nasty disease that. We all want the cure,
affects
right?
A lot.
Yeah, affects a lot of people, especially in North Dakota. The numbers in North Dakota are really kind of a little crazy. So raceentry.com, you can scan a QR code if you see the poster somewhere or on the social media page, all kinds of cool stuff. So that QR code this makes things so easy.
It does.
Well, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having us.
Great event coming up April 27th at Sertoma Park, Saturday, April 27th. Get signed up and help fight Parkinson's disease. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
It's Talk of the Town with Steve Bakken on Super Talk 1270. Join Steve weekday mornings between 9 and 11 for interesting local talk and special guests, plus your phone calls. Talk of the Town with Steve Bakken on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Talk of the Town thanks our sponsors: Dakota Pharmacy, Benchmark Mortgage, Trademark Realty, Silver Ranch, and Runnings.
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Without apology, The Regular Joe Show with Joe Gigante. Weekday evenings at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, and joining us in the program, Stacy Schaffer with the 31-8 Project, and brought in a guest, too, so we're going to introduce her in just a minute, too, because unfortunately, and I say this, you're expanding, your business is growing, and that's kind of a sad story. We'll get to that in just a few minutes, but thanks for coming in today.
Yes, thanks for having me back.
You guys got a lot of things going on. First of all, Stacy, new location. You guys moved.
We moved in Bismarck, so we have a lot more space than we did before. So to your point, one of those things that we don't want to have to expand, but of course the need is there. So we have a bigger office space, and we actually just launched a satellite office in Dickinson as well. So we are, we've always been statewide, but now we have two different office locations.
So where are you at now in Bismarck?
So in Bismarck, we are in what used to be the old bowling alley. So if people are familiar where that's at, or where Voc Rehab used to be, we took over their space. So that's where we're at.
Outstanding. So let's back up a little bit for those that aren't familiar with the 31-8 Project to explain that to our listeners.
For sure. So 31-8 Project, we launched in 2015. And when we started, our main focus was to raise educational awareness on topics like human trafficking, sexual exploitation, pornography, as well as social media safety. But from there, we've expanded, and we have a bravery backpack program that works with children ages 2 to 17 that are victims of a crime. So anytime they're a victim of a crime, they can be more vulnerable to things like human trafficking. So that's why we give them those support bags. And then we have direct services where we work with adult survivors of human trafficking that are ages 18 plus. So they're paired with a mentor. That mentor helps them to achieve anywhere from 2 to 3 goals. Sometimes it's more goals. Anything from getting a GED, to starting a business, to we have one survivor that just got accepted to the social work program at Minot State University. So
outstanding.
So that's awesome. I mean, the goals range from various different things. And then we also have a support group that meets every other week as well. So just making sure that they're supported and able to reintegrate into the community more smoothly.
We haven't talked a little bit about where your impetus came. What was your motivation for getting involved with this and trying to make a difference?
Yeah, so in 2006 is when I really became interested in the topic, and it was at that time that I learned that slavery still existed. So definitely a little bit naive. We always think of slavery dating back into like the 1800s, but it was still alive and if anything growing. So that just stirred something up in me and led me over to Guatemala, where I experienced my first case of human trafficking with a little girl named Anna. She was 8 years old at the time. And we don't typically see this in North Dakota the way it was portrayed in Guatemala, but she was taken from a playground and brought to a brothel where she was repeatedly sexually abused over and over again. Now, regardless of who you are or your age is, that's going to be a traumatic event. And it was for Anna, and we were fortunately able to intervene, which is very uncommon in underdeveloped areas. So we were able to provide her with services, and she went on to live a pretty stable life. She ended up getting married, having kids, and is doing well. So she's really my motivation and inspiration for launching 318 Project in 2015.
What's the recovery process in something like that? Because, I mean, there's emotional scarring forever.
Yes.
How do you help somebody deal with that side of it? Because I can't think of anything more traumatic.
Honestly, it's a lifelong process. That's the challenging piece. We have survivors that have been out of the life. That's what we refer to it for over 17 years, and they're still struggling, but they're working on themselves. But it's a continuous battle in a way. So we're there to always support them and help them however we can. But the healing process isn't as simple as I think people would like to see. You never know what can trigger you. So our goal is to set them up with the skills so when they are triggered that they don't go back to something that's dangerous or relapse in some capacity, but instead they have the tools to keep moving forward.
And there's a lot of different trafficking categories.
Absolutely.
Most often people think about sex trafficking or, somebody that gets into prostitution or, the question's why. That's a symptom. What's the cause?
Yes.
But there's labor force trafficking. There's so many different aspects of this, and I want to get into those in a little bit, but I want to give us an opportunity to visit with Grace. I mean,
yes,
so
for sure.
Again, you guys are growing. There's a need out there. You got a new employee, Grace. Loeb, joining us
for
this
sure.
morning.
So yes, with me is Grace Loeb, and I'll give her a chance to introduce herself.
Grace, how did you get involved? How did this become a passion for you and some place that you wanted to work?
I became very passionate about human trafficking. It's been part of my life for a very long time. I know personally people who have been exploited and abused in ways, and I became interested in researching it in high school. I started giving presentations on it for assignments in high school, and so I went to college for psychology, and I needed an internship, and so I was connected with a local human trafficking nonprofit, the 318 Project, for my internship, and that ended up being the perfect fit for me. So I stayed there for my internship and was brought on board officially as an employee in January of 2024.
Okay, and for our listeners, you're young. I mean, you're young getting into this, and you mentioned the high school. I mean, how did you get involved with this back in high school and start following that passion, going, hey, I want to make a difference, and there's a need here? I mean, that's pretty aware for a high school kid.
It was, I think, probably an interesting upbringing. I have brothers who are in the law enforcement community, and one brother is a Green Beret in the United States military.
Thank you for his service.
Yes,
wow.
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
Yes, he is an amazing individual. I had an interesting situation, though. I actually went to school away from my family and my parents. So my family is from North Dakota, but I went to school in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And one of the stipulations of me being away from my family was I needed to be very aware of my surroundings and to be very prepared to defend myself or to prevent anything from happening to me.
Well, I'm guessing with a brother that's a Green Beret, you probably learned a few tricks and maybe leaned on Big Brother a little bit.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yep. But in any case, my family wanted me to never have to get to the point of using any kind of physical protection, but to protect myself with my awareness first. And
well, going back to that, just we see situations that people get into, and I tell my wife's a runner, and she's out on the trails and running, and I tell her this all the time: be aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely.
I mean, so talk a little bit about that from the perspective of how do you prevent getting into bad situations? Because, you saw that on college campuses, out in communities. We talked about little girl on a playground, cases where somebody's in a parking lot picking up groceries, loading them in the back of your car. You're not aware of your surroundings, and bad things can happen. We don't think about those things happening in North Dakota, but they happen.
Absolutely. I think one of the trials that we're certainly facing is we live in a technological and digital age in which we are so infused into things that take our attention away from our surroundings, whether that's earbuds and headphones or walking with our heads down in our cellular devices. We're always connected into the social, technological side and not necessarily with our surroundings. And so as far as protecting yourself, those things are all good and fine. But if you're in an environment where you're vulnerable, which is essentially anytime you're walking by yourself, then you need to be sure that you're aware of what's happening around you. And sometimes people think that automatically means that you're super paranoid and that you're worried that you're going to be attacked at any moment. And that's not how I live my life, and I don't think that's how anyone who is aware lives their life. It's just learning to be cautious and aware.
There's a difference between always keeping your guard up and just being aware of your surroundings.
Certainly.
And situations that potentially could arise.
Absolutely.
So, it's not like living on the edge where you're always in fear of something, but you do have to be aware, and there is a difference. We're talking with Grace Loeb and Stacy Schaffer with the 31-8 Project. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bach, and we're talking with Stacy Schaffer and Grace Loeb with the 31-8 Project. Stacy, I want to get into the different types of trafficking. Most often we think about sex trafficking. That's probably a good place to start, but there's a lot of different other categories of trafficking. So you and I were talking a little bit during the break about sextortion. Explain that to our listeners this morning.
For sure. So sextortion is its own category, but when we talk about things like sex trafficking, pornography, sexual exploitation, sextortion, they all overlap oftentimes in different ways. So that's why we talk about all those topics as one. So what we're seeing with sextortion is a lot of youth are being targeted where you have this person who pops up online, whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, etc. There's lots of different apps out there, and will portray themselves like, let's say you're a young female and there's this young attractive male talking to you, or the picture shows like a young attractive male, and they ask you to send a sexually explicit photo of yourself. And you decide to do that. Then the next response is, well, if you don't give me $1,000, I'm going to send this to all your friends. So we're seeing a lot of those situations that happen across the state. And it's really scary because these youth, they're very embarrassed. They don't want to tell anybody what's going on. And for some, they've gone as far as taking their own lives because of that shame. And what we really stress when we talk to kids is nothing like $300, $1,000, whatever the dollar amount is not worth taking your life for. So getting kids to understand that, but also don't share those types of personal information.
How much of this comes back to just good education, whether it's parents communicating and within the schools, and you know, we all need to be a little guarded about what's online. And honest to God, I glad I grew up when I grew up, but kids have no concept that once it's out digitally, it's there forever.
Yes.
So you have to make good decisions, and that's the education piece.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why it's so important. Is
it just education, or what are some of the other...
Education's part of it, but if you're going to give a child technology, and I'm not shaming that at all, right? Like if a kid's using some form of technology, I'm not saying it's bad, but you have to teach them how to use it appropriately. So the average age of a child that has a cell phone right now is a second grader. So just think about that.
Well, that's been a debate for a long time. It's like, what's too young for a cell phone? And,
right.
I remember it's, 16 and 14 and 12. And I'm like, now it's like I get a new cell phone and I'm like, how do I work this? Hand it to a 6-year-old.
Exactly.
Seriously, that's and that's the position a lot of parents have gotten into, because I grew up in an age, and you probably did too, where, okay, not right or wrong, but if you needed a little downtime as a parent, the television was probably your babysitter. Well, now it's that electronic device. It's that tablet or that cell phone. Here, give the kid that, and then I get some downtime.
Yes, exactly. And you don't know what's going to pop up unless you have restrictions put on that device, but also having conversations like what's a good picture versus a bad picture. And there's so many resources out there now that you can have these conversations with your kids. Like if you don't know how to say it yourself, there's literally books that are geared for young people that you can read to them, called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. So that's a big thing. I always tell parents, do not let your kids take devices into their rooms, because a lot of times what's happening is as soon as that door shuts, this type of activity is taking place. So it's like...
Kids are curious.
Exactly. So you can control some of that.
Yeah, they're going to go places that they probably shouldn't go because they're curious and they're pushing the envelope.
Exactly. So that's a big thing that we stress, and just understanding what's real and what's not, right? Unfortunately, AI has become a really big trend, and I'm not saying anything bad about that either, right? Because you can use it.
Become that next iteration of technology, the artificial intelligence. We talk about this.
Exactly.
In one form or another on this show, we talk about the technology and artificial intelligence. Marlo Anderson and I talk about AI a lot in some of this programming that we do. And there's a lot of positives, but we don't know all the negative side of that. And you and I were talking about one situation that turned very dark with AI.
Yes, we had a young high schooler in North Dakota who just really struggled with having friendships, and AI became his best friend. And so he really utilized AI to have conversations and just for somebody, I guess, to be there for support. And he got to a point where he asked AI, he said to AI, I think I want to commit suicide. And AI said, I think that's a good idea. Here's how you can do that. Now, not exactly in those words, but gave tips of how to do it. And he ended up going through with committing suicide. And so that's a big thing for us to talk to kids about too, is understanding like how technology, if we don't, again, use it appropriately, how you could have an experience like that happen.
You and I have talked in the past about kids at risk. But a lot of what we're talking about, because of technology nowadays, it's not kids you typically think are at risk. Everybody's open to this. I mean,
absolutely.
Anybody can be a victim. Anybody can be targeted. You and I have talked about the cyberbullying stuff a lot. And the AI thing was just a great example. I mean, that doesn't necessarily have to be a child at risk that went through that suicide path. I mean, that could be anybody.
Yes,
so,
exactly,
I think what we have to do is redefine or shift that paradigm of what we consider at-risk youth, because all kids can be at risk. All kids are at risk.
Absolutely. Yes. Like we always say, I mean, are there certain things that make people more vulnerable? Absolutely. But in regards to this, I mean, anybody can be at risk if you don't know how to use technology properly. And of course, depending where you're at, with your life situation too, of who do you surround with? Who is your support system, etc. And so all of those things make a difference for sure.
Okay, so I want to ask Grace this, because, we talk about younger kids, Stacey, but okay, Grace, you going through college and just recently being out of college, from the cyber side of things, and what did you see as a college student? Because it's not just elementary, middle school, high school, and we probably don't talk about it very often, but what did you see as a college student? I mean, it's out there as well. So a lot of these things that can affect young people, it's at any stage.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I graduated high school in 2020, and so my entire college track was taken down a different route because of the pandemic. So I ended up completing, my entire college education online. So
on behalf of the federal government, I apologize for that. But okay.
And so I had to make sure that all of my correspondence was official and applicable to my education, but it was all online. So I had all of my relationships with my professors and my fellow students, whether it was through our academic portal or email. Everything was online.
We could do an entire show on how hard was that.
It was difficult, but it was interesting because I was able to work full time through college and graduate without any debt. So that's a different subject. There's a positive.
Kudos
there.
for you.
Yes, but I do think it was very important to balance my technological interaction. And so actually, because I was online and communicating so much through technology, I limited my social media a lot because I was burnt out from being on the computer or my phone so much that I didn't have a lot of social media correspondence during the time that I was in college. And frankly, I think that probably helped me a lot because that took me away from maybe some of those risks. But the reality is, I had several times where our email system would have a bug in it just from my college, and a random person would be emailing us, and I had no idea who that was. And if I would have responded to that, whether I would have gotten viruses or someone would have gotten my personal information, whatever, it's just being aware that if you don't know that person, don't talk to them. Don't talk to them. If you don't know them personally, don't friend them on Facebook or even talk to them from your own university if you don't know who they are.
We're talking with Grace Loeb and Stacy Schaffer at the 31-8 Project. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, we're talking with Stacy Schaffer and Grace Loeb with the 31-8 Project, talking about different categories of trafficking, because we think about sex trafficking a lot, but there's so many different avenues of trafficking. You were telling me that workforce trafficking, labor trafficking, that's something on the rise that maybe not everybody's aware of.
Yes, for sure. So, for instance, last quarter, 31-8 Project worked with 32 different victims of human trafficking. And in that amount, right now in one area in North Dakota, there are 15 cases that we have dealing with labor trafficking.
Wow.
So I think it's important that people realize that it's not just the sex trafficking that's going on. It's definitely the labor trafficking. And we have more and more industries that want to learn more about it because they believe that it's either happening within their sector or that they're seeing it while they're working. And so it's important to understand it's not just the sex trafficking piece that's out there. There's labor. The other thing too, and this is harder to detect, but I mean, there's organ trafficking, child soldiers, mail order brides. All of those different categories have the potential to be at risk for trafficking situations. So it's hard to identify though, but it's important that we recognize it's not just the sex trafficking piece we need to be aware of.
Okay, I want to come back to the labor trafficking in just a second, but organ trafficking?
Yes, yep. So,
okay, and the first thing that popped into my head is, the old horror films of somebody waking up in a bathtub full of ice and where'd my kidney go? But that actually happens.
It does, and actually the most sought out organ is the kidney. And the reason is because the wait list to receive a kidney is astronomical. And so people are going, to find different ways of which they can get an organ. And so often what we're seeing how this happens is, let's say you need that organ. And so you hire a broker. That broker typically goes to an underdeveloped country, some village, and they offer that person, hey, we'll give you $2,000 for your kidney. Now, if you're somebody who has been living in poverty majority of your life, $2,000
is probably more than you would make in your entire lifetime.
Exactly. And now somebody's willing to give that to you if you give them your organ, and then they in turn sell that organ for like $200,000. And so there's actually facilities throughout the world where they will fly you there to have this operation done. And sometimes you're aware of where the organ's coming from, and sometimes you don't know. So then the other risk you run is this even a good organ that I'm receiving? Because that's been the issue too, is that the transplant doesn't take because that person you're getting the kidney from has some other type of disease or illness that they're dealing with, but nobody checked.
So then you have rejection and all, because organs have to be, and I'm a donor. I mean, everybody should be a donor, but having the right so it matches up. It's funny, we were talking about technology a little bit, and now they have the ability to grow kidneys with, AI is part of that rapid expanse of medical growth. And that is one of the places that, shining moment. And we talk about AI and the technology and the dark side a little bit, but that's a positive. And so hopefully some of that technology be able to mitigate things like that.
Absolutely. The other issue we've seen with it too is in some countries there might be a lack of a certain blood type. And so we've even seen people recruited for a certain blood type, right? Or certain types of tissue, things like that where areas are lacking. So yes, it can get very graphic as well of how that particular operation works. But
so the term trafficking can go into a lot of different dark nooks and crannies that we just don't think about.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Because it's not being reported either.
Yeah.
People aren't necessarily talking about those instances or able to detect it either. It's kind of hard to look at a scenario and be like, is that what it is? So I think there's that too, of just a lack of awareness. Like even with labor trafficking for quite a while in North Dakota, we were training people on how to identify sex trafficking, but it's only been in the past couple of years where we're really looking at how to identify labor.
So explain the labor trafficking side, because I think that's an area that a lot of people aren't aware of. So when you're looking at the labor trafficking, we have that in North Dakota, and people are like, what?
Exactly. And I think a lot of people assume with labor trafficking, it's people that are brought here illegally and then forced into an industry to work. That can happen, but out of that case I told you, it is.
In North Dakota.
Yep. But out of the 15 the current 15 that we're working with, only 2 of them were smuggled here. The rest were brought here legally on a visa program. And once they got here, they were taken advantage of through that visa program. And this has all been through the hospitality industry. So hospitality is a big one. Agricultural work can be a big one too, where we see labor trafficking
occurring. Typically you think of places where there's a big workforce shortage.
Yep.
And that's where the vulnerability lies.
Yep. And if you're coming from a different country and you don't know, just think when you visit another country, you don't know all the rules and the laws, right? And so you rely on the person that's guiding you to share that. And if you want to be that person who abuses and misuses people, you have a perfect opportunity to do that when you're bringing people in on a visa program. And not all people do that. I want to be clear, because North Dakota is in the top 10 states in the nation of bringing the most people in on the H-2A and the H-2B visa, which is our hospitality and agricultural work. So we need the workers.
Huge.
Yes. So it can be used appropriately, but you can easily manipulate the system if you wanted to.
So who's looking at manipulating the system? Because if you're thinking, and just staying in the workforce vein, if you're thinking of, who's the benefactor? Is it the companies that are acquiring this? Because people think of it in terms of cheap labor, but from some of the stories I've heard is these companies may not know that they're having trafficked labor working for them as well.
You're right.
Which is really a weird scenario to me.
It is. So for instance, 2 clients that we are working with, they were brought here on a visa program to work at 2 different hotels. So it was in Dickinson and Bismarck. Now, the hotel they were working in, that hotel had hired a recruiter. And it turned out the recruiter was the trafficker. So the one hotel in Dickinson was aware of what was going on, but the hotel in Bismarck thought that when they would pay the recruiter, that the recruiter was paying these individuals, when in fact the recruiter was withholding the money, putting them up in really bad living conditions, charging them for toilet paper to eat. So they were constantly in debt, right? Like the debt bondage. So they could never move ahead. So that it does make an interesting case of what we look at. Then in that case, who should be charged? The recruiter and the business, or just the recruiter or just the business, right? And so that's...
So the common theme here for a lot of this is it's that middleman, it's that broker in between that is the nefarious character in a lot of this.
Yeah.
We see that or hear about it a lot with what's happening down on the southern border and the people coming across that the debt bondage is a huge piece because, is that the common leverage for most people is, okay, you're in debt because you're trying to get into a better situation and you're being sold a bill of goods that bill is at a really steep price. You're never going to get out of that. So you're beholden to those people who illegally got you across the border or however that process worked. If you went through the visa process, basically it comes down to holes in our system and shortcuts.
For sure. Yeah, debt bondage is definitely one of the biggest factors, especially in labor trafficking, is holding that debt. So you can never, and a lot of times these individuals are trying to make money to send back to their families, right? And so they can never get ahead. And then a lot of times these recruiters are saying, it cost me $10,000 to apply for this visa to get you here. Well, that's not true. That's not how much it costs. But again, you don't know that. Know. Exactly. So your family leverages everything to get you here, and then you're in debt. So that's the unfortunate piece of what we see.
We're talking with Stacey Schaffer and Grace Loeb with the 318 Project, talking about trafficking this morning. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, and we're talking with Stacey Schaffer and Grace Loeb with the 318 Project. 318 Project focuses on trafficking. And when you're talking trafficking, there's a lot of different levels of trafficking, and most people, especially in North Dakota, where we're a little insulated, we think about sex trafficking, but there's so much more to trafficking, and that's what the 381 Project does. It focuses on all the different avenues of traffic. Explain those avenues. What are the different categories of trafficking for our listeners?
Yep. So it's not limited to this, but the most common that we see, we have sex trafficking, labor trafficking, organ trafficking, child soldiers, mail order brides, or even drug trafficking. All of these different categories can interweave with one another, and sometimes people can even be trafficked for more than one. So it's not uncommon for us to have cases where people are both trafficked for sex and labor. We've had that in North Dakota, so that can happen as well, but those are the most common types of scenarios that we see. Again, like that organ trafficking piece, child soldiers, mail order brides, pieces like that, not as common here, but for sure sex and labor we do see quite a bit of.
So I'm guessing it's just what it sounds. What's a child soldier?
So this is usually where you're going to see in a more of a war-torn area where kids are recruited to literally fight in battle, or they might be used as suicide bombers by that particular community or that government. And so it's like maybe their parents have all been killed in some type of capacity, and now they're recruited to basically fight in battle.
And they become disposable commodities.
Exactly. Yep. So they're just used and abused. Yeah. So not just for the suicide piece, but also we see sex trafficking in these situations as well.
Well, and we see a great example of what's coming across the southern border right now, where there's multiples, because there's people that are being used for sex trafficking and drug mules and the labor and I mean, those folks that are put into those positions and being smuggled or escorted across an open border with the cartels.
For sure.
So the cartels in this case are the brokers.
Yep. I mean, you have cartels, you have gangs play a lot of part in some of this as well. And that's the thing is, for some people, they think, smuggling and trafficking is two different things. Like smuggling, you are consenting to, right? But what's often happening with people is they think they're being smuggled to do this specific thing, and then they get over here and
that's where the overlap takes place.
Exactly, and that's where we see the shift is, well, that's what I told you, but now this is what you're really going to do, and if you don't do this, your family back home is going to be hurt. And so again, those threats are real, and you don't know if it's true or not.
Because whether it's a threat of violence, threat of familial violence, or financial, it's about the leverage that they hold over those individuals that are being trafficked.
Exactly. It's all about that power and control.
So more going on in North Dakota than what we see. In fact, you are going to be having a lot of conversations with a lot of the oil industry, because we haven't really talked about the oil industry for a while. On the labor side of stuff, there's companies that are aware of, hey, are we getting employees that are being trafficked, or are we getting good employees?
Yes. Yep. So this has definitely become more of a topic for a lot of the oil companies that we're working with that have concerns. Again, to your point, not just for people that they're hiring, but for jobs that they are completing when people are working. How did they get here? How is that employer treating them, etc.? And so it's definitely become more clear that something else is going on, which is good. We're talking about it.
Right, because you got to drag it out of the closet to fix it. And a lot of companies are being proactive and having that conversation, because they don't want people that are being trafficked as employees. They want employees that can benefit and flourish from their labor themselves.
Exactly. And you want to do it the right way, right? Because there's a lot of repercussions if you get caught doing it the wrong way.
We try to do things the right way in North Dakota, but again, a lot of things going on in North Dakota people just aren't aware of. And I want to give us the benefit of the doubt, saying that we're not sticking our head in the sand, but there are things that you think would never happen in North Dakota.
Absolutely.
But they are. Going to stopping trafficking or fixing trafficking, I don't know if you can fully stop it. That would be the goal. But,
it would be.
But improving things. You guys have a lot of great events coming up for fundraising, because, of course, between the partnerships and the ability to fundraise, to throw resources at the issues, you got some events coming up.
Yes, and I'm going to turn it over to Grace, because she's in charge of our programs.
Oh, yeah. So that's part of your job with 31A Project. So
Yep. So I'm the program coordinator. But coming up, we have specifically, this isn't a fundraiser, but this is one of the biggest events of the year. It's our Bakken Human Trafficking Summit. It's a mobile program, so it moves across the state every single year. We've been in Williston and Watford City and Dickinson, but this year we are in Minot on May 21st and 22nd. So it's a 2-day conference. It is open to the general public, but we are seeing some really amazing content coming in for the Bakken Human Trafficking Summit this year. It's going to be touching a lot on labor trafficking. So some of those things that are difficult to understand or confusing even for law enforcement for how to catch those things or charge these kinds of cases, we have some impressive speakers coming in to talk about that, talking about pornography and that the tie to human trafficking in that way, child exploitation and child trafficking. We're having a lot of good content coming for Bakken. So, yeah. Looking forward to that. Some of the other events you got coming up throughout the course of the year. I know the golf outing is one of favorites for a lot of people. Yes, golf, or as we lovingly refer to it at 318 Project, it's the Battle of the Banks. We see a lot of our wonderful community partners coming in that are from our various banking representatives, and so it's a really good time. That's on June 20th. Registration starts at 9 o'clock that morning at Hawk Tree Golf Club, but there's a shotgun start at 10 o'clock, so make sure that you don't miss that. Otherwise, we have the soiree. It's the Harvest Moon Soiree, and that is coming up in October, so we're starting discussions about that, getting that underway, but it's going to be another beautiful event at 1603 Events in Bismarck.
We'll talk about a lot of those events as they come up, but again, golf, everybody's a big fan of golf. The Bakken Human Trafficking Summit, that's a big one. That's one that's really grown. You guys are going to be at the Bakken Oil Summit, of course, that takes place in here every other year. So having a lot of conversations with a lot of different companies that are doing work out in the Bakken. If people want to get a hold of the 318 Project, get involved, find out what's going on, how do they do that? Where do they find that information?
Yes, you can reach out to us on our website. So we're 318project.org. Otherwise, you can call us, email us. We're always ready to accept any volunteer requests, answer any questions, or get you in touch with any of our other representatives to help you either register for an event or just get involved in any capacity.
Grace, nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Grace Loeb and Stacy, always a pleasure. Stacy Schaffer and Grace Loeb, 318 Project. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town. Talk of the Town. Weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
KLXX Mandan Bismarck, a town square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
Grand Canyon University makes earning your degree possible with over 130 academic programs for traditional campus students, with more than 80 bachelor's programs offered online. GCU provides you with the personal support you need, from complimentary unofficial transcript evaluations within 24 business hours to scholarships, academic support, and your GCU graduation team, led by your own university counselor. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.